Hello, it is John here from Handiwork Games. Hello, who are you? Why are you here? What's the story?
I am Morgue Davie, and I am the lead on a game called FiveEvil that we're going to be talking about a little bit today. And I've also done a bunch of other cool and interesting stuff, most notably a game called A State.
Very, very good work on A State. We love it. So Five Evil is a new thing. You tell me the basics of what is it at a really basic level. Five Evil, what are you?
So FiveEvil is a game of horror, but not in the way other role-playing games do games of horror. It's not about investigators who are venturing into dark and dusty Cthulhu places, or taking on occult societies, etc. There's no pulp energy to it at all. It's very much in the theme of horror that you see in the Stephen King novels, horror that you see in the movies at horror film festivals. All of these experiences about ordinary people, horrific circumstances. I wanted to make a game about that. I've wanted to make a game about that for quite a long time, and it just feels like a big gap in the horror role playing, the marketplace, the opportunities that are there. They just don't really step into that space, I think, in the way that we're going to. So we're going there, and it's important when you're doing horror and you're doing horror with ordinary people. You want to give people a really good handle on it so they can experience how upsetting it's going to be. And so that handle is the most popular role-playing game of all time, 5e, which is kind of the basis of the engine. So we're taking 5e, and to make it suitable for horror, we're messing with it quite a lot.
Something that really has intrigued me about this, that I understand, we tend to think when we're talking about role-playing games and we're talking about horror, there are certain huge games that spring to mind that have been doing horror since almost the beginning of role-playing games. And it's really interesting that perhaps there is this sort of fertile soil it is not about that stuff. It is not H.P. Lovecraft. I imagine you could probably do H.P. Lovecraft with it, but that's not really in the sort of wheelhouse of FiveEvil at all. It's very much, it seems to me, much more about, like you say, the movie and those sort of doorstep novels with black covers and the author name really massive on them.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff that actually in popular culture is much more connected to the genre of horror. When you say horror, you think Stephen King, perhaps. Whereas we're very used in role-playing games to it being, particular games. I don't know why I'm hesitating to say Call of Cthulhu, but it's like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, that's their thing, man, and we're doing a different thing.
I feel pretty comfortable talking about it because you can see over my shoulder. I love Call of Cthulhu. I think it's amazing. It's an absolutely amazing game, and it explores the opportunities of its subject matter, and it just goes to some pretty wild places, and it's really, really, really good. But there are some things that it just doesn't lend itself towards. So much of Call of Cthulhu is about kind of investigators who are driven to go and deal with weirdness. And if they don't start out like that, they quickly have to become that, or they get killed along the way. That's all of these big campaigns are all about. But other horror stories are much more in that kind of one-shot, short campaign realm of length, where people just get caught up into a horrible thing and they do not want to go towards the horrible thing. They want to get away from it. But getting away from it is hard because it keeps following them. That's the kind of thing that I want to chase after.
Something I have heard a lot about and said a lot about, because it's me saying it often, is that FiveEvil is about subverting the expectations of 5th edition. So 5th edition is almost, I think, quite an unusual choice to base this on. And I see a lot around FiveEvil about subverting expectations. So what to start with would be the expectations of 5e, and perhaps what did you do to those expectations?
I think 5e, it appealed to me because it's such a powerful language. It's a really well understood language for dealing with the basic conflict that you have in a kind of adventure dramatic situation where you want to climb over a wall. You know, with the 5e rules exactly how to do that. You want to see how strong you are, you look on your character sheet to see that. But of course 5e brings all this other stuff along with it. The expectations of the Dungeons and Dragons game is that there's going to be a lot of fighting, that you're going to have a lot of cool magic equipment, and you're going to be able to look on your character sheet and see all the cool powers that you've got. And every time you go up a level, you're going to get more hit points, you're going to get more powers. All of that stuff that makes D&D what it is doesn't need to be there for 5e to still work, because that language of 5e is so straightforward. And that core of it with the 6 ability scores and the 20-sided dice is right there, and people know how to speak it. They know how to navigate. It's a very familiar set of tools. And when people get their character sheet for FiveEvil and they look at their character sheet and they see those ability scores, they know they're on familiar ground. They know they can handle this. They know that they are able to pick up this game and run with it. But then they look around on the character sheet for all of the other stuff they're used to, like their armor class and their magical equipment and their cool powers, and none of that stuff is there. Instead, there's a box in the corner, and that box is called suffering. That tells people that while they can speak the language, they don't necessarily like what it's going to be telling them.